Hello everybody, Marcus Guiliano here, your chef on a mission. Welcome to Chef on a Mission Radio, episode number 65. Finally, somebody has sense about farmed salmon. Common sense about farmed salmon. We all know the detriments of farmed salmon, but is anybody willing to actually make a change, boycott it, ban it? Is any country willing to make a change and move in the right direction? There is some good news on this. There absolutely is. But before we jump into that, I am Chef Marcus Guiliano. I am the owner and proprietor of Aroma Time Bistro, founded in 2003 in Ellenville, New York. I am also a wine, I like to call it a wine vacation architect. I take you to wineries all throughout Italy, even Spain, and all throughout New York. I use all my connections over the last 20 years in the wine world and bring you to my friends' wineries. Check out that website. It's VIP wineryvacations.com. VIP wineryvacations.com. Once you hit that website, click the region you're interested in, whether it's in Italy or in New York. We have some great, exciting tours coming up into New York in the fall of 2021 and back to Italy in 2022. And if you're ever 90 miles north of New York City, my restaurant is located in Ellenville, New York. We've been here since 2003, and we serve farm-to-table cuisine, and you will not find farmed salmon at my restaurant. I took that vow many years ago, and I actually took that vow and I went public with it and put out a press release back in, I think, 2004, 2005. And it had already been a couple years before I had already used farmed salmon. It was 1999 or 2000 since I used farmed salmon, and that long since I had personally eaten it. Once I became educated on farmed salmon, or scammon, also called scammon, it was a no-brainer. So the good news now, this is current news, July 2021, Argentina takes lead as the world's first country to ban salmon farming. Now, the state of Washington has banned any future open pen farmed salmon or finfish because they've seen disasters in the state of Washington. British Columbia, the local people there, the First Nations, are very up in arms about the salmon farms. They've noticed that their supply of wild salmon has dwindled since the salmon farms came in, and they're very upset with that. They've occupied salmon farms to try to get them out of there, and they have the water rights, and so things are happening across the globe about this. There's more and more awareness about this. More and more people can take their videos to YouTube and write blogs and publish things and show you the firsthand destruction of what's going on. And I always say, you know, these salmon farms have great marketing, amazing marketing, and don't go by the marketing, go by what the locals say in those communities. That will really tell you the true story of what's happening with salmon, is what the locals are telling you in the story. We're not the ones that are waking up to the stench in the bay there from all the mortalities of dead fish, and seeing that the bay is lined, the rocks, the shore is lined with like salmon sludge and fat, and we're not the ones experiencing all that, what they do. So it's really hard for us to say what's going on, and we just go by the marketing. A lot of chefs just go by the marketing and say, oh, this is the most sustainable salmon, this and that. Norway has seen the firsthand destruction and has tightened down the clamp on a lot of these salmon farms, which is why the Norwegian salmon farms have gone other places to manipulate governments and continue to do their damage. So, all right. So this article here is from the Green Queen. And legislators in the province of Tierra del Fuego have just made salmon farming in marine cages illegal. The move makes Argentina the first country in the world to introduce such a ban. It came after months of campaigning from residents, neighboring Chilean communities, and NGOs who were concerned about the environmental destruction of the industry. Last week, the Argentinian province of Tierra del Fuego banned salmon farming. The bill was approved unanimously by legislators, and the decision makes Argentina the first country in the world to ban the industry. Saying no to farmed salmon is possible. There had been widespread concerns over the environmental destructive salmon farming industry from both the public and nonprofit organizations. Back in 2019, Tierra del Fuego signed an agreement with Norway to begin producing salmon in marine cages. The region is located in the most southern part of Argentina, where the cold water environment makes salmon farming viable. So Argentina does not have wild salmon. So the issue here is not that the salmons are going to go into the path of the migratory path of wild salmon. That's usually what happens. The northern hemisphere, where they put the salmon farms, all this filth and disease and lice, and that actually sits in the migratory path of the farmed salmon, of the wild salmon. The farmed salmon sit there, and that causes a major issue. In the southern hemisphere, they don't have that issue because salmon doesn't happen in the southern hemisphere, but salmon does need cold water to thrive. Warm water is not good for salmon. That's why you won't find salmon farms in Florida, in Southern California. In California, you won't find them there. It's just impossible to make that work. They need cold. The salmon farming agreement was opposed by local and neighboring Chilean residents. They partnered with NGOs like Rewilding Argentina to call for greater conservation of their biodiverse waters. Together, their efforts led to the decision to pause the project. Later on, provincial legislators went further to present a bill to ban the salmon industry by law. It was put forward by Pablo Vieja, the vice governor, and Vice Governor Monica Urquiza. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name. The message is clear. If we work with our head and heart, that translates into achievements, commented Viejas, saying no salmon farms is possible. Environmental destruction from salmon farming. Salmon farming is associated with a litany of environmental harms, from destroying local fauna to entangling marine animals. It also exacerbates toxic algae blooms that are often known as red tide. These are health concerns too, with these farms being hotbeds of bacterial resistance, rising aquaculture disease, and salmon mortalities. Just read something today that Scotland once again was named top mortality rates in farmed salmon. That means the most die in Scotland. So when you think you're having pure Scottish salmon, think again. 22 fish out of every 100 die because of the mortalities. I didn't read the article. I just read the headline that they took that honors again. According to Just Economics report, the salmon farming industry is responsible for negative externalities that toppled $47 billion, US $47 billion between 2013 and 2019. Those are salmon escaping into the wild, things like that. Putting down the salmon mortalities, things like that, all kinds of things. Fighting for ocean protection around the world. Activists campaigning for the ban say that Argentina is leading by example, and the rest of to the rest of the world. Most importantly, the decision could put greater pressure on Chile to take similar measures. The unsustainable demand for seafood grows. Salmon farming is rising in the biodiverse Chilean regions of Los Lagos and Magallanes. Representative of the Yagan community, David Adley, believes that banning salmon farming will be crucial to protecting the region's wildlife and environment. The Yagan community is the original inhabitants of the southernmost region of the world. After the approval of the bill, he sees a future where abundant biodiversity full of different species can thrive. Here, we are not fighting for a community, but the positive effects of these decisions on a global level, he says. So, this is fantastic news. Folks, but the real countries can do what they want, whether they allow farmed salmon or they don't allow farmed salmon. The real issue here, or the real thing is, this is going to make a difference if you ban farmed salmon in your life, in your kitchen, in your diet. This is where the real power comes from. The more we tell these companies that we don't want farmed salmon, that is where the real, that's where the real legislation takes place with your wallet. I know for me in 2005, I took that official plunge, even though I had done it before that. I had not done it. I had done it. I went to the media and I put out a press release and I got some media attention for it and said, I, as a chef, will not serve open-penned farmed salmon in my restaurant ever. That's my guarantee. There's another way to raise salmon, which is called closed containment system, which costs 7 times the amount, which is why these are not, which is why these salmon farms are not into it. Instead of spending $1 million, they spend $7 million. The salmon doesn't need antibiotics, doesn't need all that kind of stuff because it filters through and it's in a containment system inland. The water doesn't get out into the wild. The fish grow quicker. They don't need it's a home run, but they just can't get past spending 7 times the amount for that. Some countries are giving incentives, like Norway's giving incentives for that right now. And that's the way that they're pushing is inland containment systems. What happens in open pens is they have holes in the nets and they sit out in the ocean. So if one salmon has sea lice, the next salmon to it has it, and then they get through the holes and go out into the wild population. Same thing with all the diseases, the every sickness, every disease that happens. And when they treat for lice, sea lice, they have to spray something called slice or drop something called slice, a chemical. That not only goes onto the fish in the nets, but it goes into everything else into the bay. And lobster farmers have reported coming to work in the morning, waking up, and all their lobsters that they're storing in their pounds and the lobster pounds are indeed dead because of the nasty chemicals, harsh chemicals that the salmon farms need to take. And these aren't antibiotics and these aren't hormones. So when you read, oh, this salmon is antibiotic free, it doesn't mean that it was slice free or these other chemicals free or these other strong, harsh pesticide free in their feed and what they're doing in the water. Doesn't mean any of that. It just means they might not have administered antibiotics at a certain point, a certain level, the last part of its life. Folks, when you pack salmon, no matter if it's low density, high density, when you pack salmon into these nets like this, something is going to happen. Salmon are migratory fish. They need to swim 2,000 miles. They need to do their thing. And fish farming, open pen fish farming does not allow them to do that. So that's the difference between open pen and closed containment. Closed containment, literally the farm is in a building with a recirculating system, filtering the water, filtering anything out, not letting the water go into the ocean, not letting the feces, not letting anything else go into the ocean or the surrounding environments, all contained. Closed containment versus open pen. That's the difference. So lots of hope for closed containment in the future. Arctic char is typically done open pen. Closed containment. That's why Arctic char always gets a lot of great reviews from the seafood advocacy groups like Monterey Bay Aquarium, Friends of the Sea, Marine Stewardship Council, because it's a closed containment system. Nothing is spewing out into the ocean, and they can filter it out instantly and not get it to recirculate back into the salmon. It's like a goldfish tank, right? It's like a goldfish tank that has a filter on it, or it doesn't have a filter on it, right? Goldfish the tank just sits there, the water sits there, and starts getting stagnant, or it goes through a recirculating system where it's purifying, cleansing the water, circulating the water, and filtering out anything that would be in there. So the same kind of concept, folks, with that. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. This is Chef on a Mission Radio. You can check out me at aromatimebistro.com, AROMA time, THYME, bistro.com, and VIPwineryvacations.com. We also have the domain name bestitalianwinetours.com and besthudsonvalleywinetours.com as well. So if you want to join us on a wine vacation, wine excursion, wine tour, check out one of those sites. If you want to eat at our restaurant, check out aromatimebistro.com. And if you're a restaurateur yourself, a business owner, you need a little coaching, a little help, we offer that as well. MarcusGuiliano.com, MarcusGuiliano. And I'm happy to speak, do some public speaking, some professional speaking on food activism, on business, on marketing, things like that. Go to MarcusGuiliano.com and you'll find out a lot more that I do. And of course, ChefOnAMission.com. Got lots of domain names out there, pointing in every direction. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And remember, the true legislation starts with your wallet. Your dollar is the almighty. Where your dollar goes is what dictates what's happening in our world. So use that dollar very wisely. And if you are concerned about your health and the health of the oceans, then open pen salmon farming should not be in your diet. All right, folks, until next time, thank you for tuning in.